This is, of course, Longevity Industries' presentation of the Destiny of Manufacturing podcast. I am Dean Phillips, and I am your host today. It's great to be here. I have to say right away, a thank you to the Precision Metal Forming Association and the SME also, who have also helped us to put the show together. I really appreciate both of them. Let's get right into it. I have with me today from Systems X, their IT success strategist, Mike Brattain.
Hey, how's it going, Dean?
It's great to have you, sir.
Yeah, good to be here.
So right off the bat, what are some of the big changes you see coming over the next 5 years?
Yeah, and actually, good timing for this conversation. We recently put together an educational guide that talks about, 8 tech trends that you need to be ready for as a manufacturer, really any vertical, and what to look for over the next 10 years. I mean, from our aspect, being a cybersecurity company, we talk a lot about cloud technologies and next gen computing, artificial intelligence, but really one of the big ones we're focusing on when we're preparing our customers and prospects for is really that zero trust architecture. It's going to be one of the strongest ways that a company can protect themselves moving forward to make sure that that data is fully protected. I think one of the drawbacks to it today is it's very cumbersome. So one of the tough things that we have to deal with here as we protect our customers is making sure that it does not hinder business. And unfortunately, the zero trust architecture, sometimes when you bring it all in at once, will slow down business a little bit. So that's probably one of the reasons why, as of today, it's not fully accepted.
Right. And do you think that also with the way COVID came about and a lot of people working remotely, has that really driven a lot of interest in this and kind of pushed it to the forefront?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what happened when COVID came, it exposed a lot of companies that weren't ready for this. And not only that, just trying to put together if you're not prepared, a hodgepodge almost of ad hoc system to get people to be able to work so it doesn't kill business continuity. But by doing that, it all of a sudden revealed all these different vulnerabilities that maybe not everyone was ready for. But I can tell you, we're singing it from the rooftops at this point, and I think more ears are listening that this is no longer a luxury to secure your data. This is now a line item on your budget sheet, and it is a cost of doing business.
Right. And it's, I think if you look at where we are today, it's something that you have to take into account. You really do. So how did you get involved in cybersecurity and in IT in general? What was your background?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but it's kind of a unique story. I was lucky growing up at a young age where most of my family members own small businesses. And I was able to work with inside those businesses. And what that allowed me to do is really always take and look at a business from the business owner or the C-level's point of view. So whether that was my father, my grandfather, my uncle, they were always able to give me the answer of why. And I was able over the years to take that information and start using it to help various businesses that I've been a part of in my career. I've always been mostly on the sales side of it, the business development side of it, and that's really helped me in order to get to the point that I am today. But I walked into Systems X 3 years ago, handed them my resume along with other IT companies that I was looking at going and trying to work for. And, they looked at my resume and said, well, you don't have any IT experience here. And I said, yeah, the reason I'm looking to get into technology is every business I've ever been a part of, technology has been the one common factor that has changed the business. And that is the direction I want to head. And so for me, You can either go in back and try to grab someone who's very IT tech jargon savvy and teach them how to build relationships and understand strategy from a C-level's point of view, or you can teach me a little bit about IT and cybersecurity, and we can go from that standpoint. And that's how it came to be that Systems X took a chance on me, right? And it has worked out significantly. That has been our differentiator in talking to our prospects. Is I come from their point of view, their strategy. It's not about jamming technology and cybersecurity down their throat. It's actually looking at it from their point of view, and that strategy has paid dividends for us and our customers.
Excellent. That's good. Now tell me, when you talk about cybersecurity, I think people don't understand the different fingers that touches. Can you talk a little bit about that from like the NIST cybersecurity framework kind of point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned NIST. NIST is definitely the foundational framework that we work off of as a cyber team here. I don't know if I mentioned, but roughly about 70% of our customer base is manufacturing, and about 30% of that is part of the DoD supply chain. Yeah. They have had to, over the last 8 years, tested that they were NIST compliant. Now they have to meet very stringent compliance requirements with CMMC. But yeah, we look at NIST as the overall framework, and the reason is it helps a company really adopt it as part of their DNA. Cybersecurity has to really start from the top down. It has got to be accepted from your C-level all the way down, and everyone has to jump on board. And so when you create that cybersecurity culture, that is what's going to help, I guess, spread it into all those fingers that you talk about.
Yeah, and I think that you're absolutely right. You have to have the buy-in from the top down. You can't just say, well, IT will just handle that. No, you have to have a bigger thought process of what your program will be. Everything from teaching your employees, okay, recognize when a suspicious email comes in, and having practices that, okay, what do we do? Somebody had told me a while back that some of the people that have insurance claims for cybersecurity have had them denied if they shut their computer off.
Yeah, so we could definitely probably spend a whole hour on the cybersecurity insurance world that's going on here today, and I could definitely touch on that. But one thing that you mentioned there that's very important that we talk to our customers and organizations about is this is not an IT problem. This is a company problem. And in the past, if we just look at the culture as it is, the IT manager does not speak the same language as the CEO and CIO. There's CTO. There's not the same language there. And so what ends up happening, ownership kind of avoids that IT person, and then the IT person's kind of out on an island. We've always said absolutely not. That the IT lead should always have a seat at the table.
Right.
And how do we bridge that gap of how can we make sure that they understand each other? Because there's a lot of things there that both can bring to the table to understand how do we make processes faster? How do we talk with our customers, we talk about how do we increase sales? And they're like, well, you're an IT company. Why would you talk to about that? Well, because there's a lot of things we can do to improve sales and improve growth. But not only that, protecting everything from the top down, because I can tell you, most people would agree the C-level, the CEO is the most targeted person within the environment. Sure. So they better make sure they're on board moving forward, right?
Right. And I think it's interesting that you say how cybersecurity can improve business and improve sales. A lot of companies don't realize that you don't exist in a bubble. So if you are a supplier to a company or to the government, you have to meet those requirements, and because they don't want you bringing viruses into their system. So if you're going to do business with them, you have to meet those same cybersecurity requirements. Now, what do you have to? Where would you even start for if you're a company? How would they even go about starting with something like that?
Yeah. So one thing you touched on there that I want to reiterate is I am a huge proponent of finding any way to gain a competitive edge within my environment, no matter what my space is. And so this is whether you're in the DoD space or just your regular commercial side. If I am practicing strong cybersecurity defenses and I have a strong cybersecurity posture, I am making sure that that is plastered on every bid and sales opportunity that I have. And the reason is, and we've seen it time and time again, if you have offer A and offer B sitting there, bid A and bid B, and one of them has already come forward with all their cybersecurity defenses they have in place, that is going to put question on your competitor that you're going up against. And more than likely, based on my experience of what's going on, they do not have those things in place. So that gives you a huge advantage. And that's one thing we talked about with the defense supply chain as we were talking to, this space. They just kept kind of kicking the can down the road. And I was always like, grasp it now, because whether we like it or not, it's coming. So we might as well get ahead of everyone else, be one of those suppliers that say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be secure moving forward. And we're going to show that we're secure and more than likely win more business because of that. Now, of course, we're going to get to a point where if you haven't met these CMMC requirements, unfortunately, you're going to find yourself on the outside looking in anyway, which is a concern. But where to start, figure out where you're at today. That's probably the biggest issue is, well, I don't know what I have, where I'm vulnerable, what do I need to do? It is a tough thing because every day I'm talking to, especially your smaller manufacturers, and they're like, well, I don't know I have a problem, so what is my problem? And then I don't even really understand your solution, so what is the solution? And that's the gap we try to cross.
Yeah, and that's not an easy bridge to cross there, because I think, number one, most people don't know what they don't know. So that's always a big part of the challenge.
No. Right.
And then from there, how do you get them to understand what some potential solutions are and how that's scalable for them? Yeah,
absolutely there. Because one thing we talk about to kind of answer your first question there was, we've kind of always said, because I'm on the phone quite a bit, and it's, well, no, we're good. We're good. We have our IT guy, or we have, this MSP that's been helping us for years. And so I always said, want to find out real quickly if they're doing their job, ask them for an incident response plan. And if they cannot deliver that to you within 20 minutes, you have an issue.
Right.
Because really our weight in gold is not, look, you do everything you can to stay ahead to make sure that you do not get breached. But our weight of gold is when that breach happens, how quickly are we taking that little spark, that little sense of smoke, jumping on it and putting it out before it burns the room down or the entire building. Mm-hmm. So an incident response plan is very important. And nowadays, look, a firewall and antivirus, isn't going to cut it. So, there's other softwares that need to be put in place, your MDRs and looking at logs and different things that are out there, depending on how deep you want to go.
Right.
But yeah, and also look, it's a human capital issue. A very small percentage of security is really your software. It's all that human capital and human knowledge behind that. You need an entire team to be able to tackle this constantly. And that's why it's such a tough thing for that one or two person IT team.
Right. And do you find that most companies have, well, let me phrase it a different way. What percentage of companies do you think have an adequate, I won't say a good plan, I'm going to say an adequate plan for their cybersecurity? What percentage would you say currently?
So I always want to be optimistic, right? The conversations I have, because I'm in the trenches in it every day. I'm having these conversations with business owners and IT managers every single day, and there's really today there's a lot of low hanging fruit,
Mm-hmm.
and the numbers show that. I mean, it's very easy now for hackers to just come in and do what they want to do, and a lot of a lot of companies are currently hacked and just don't know it. They're playing that waiting game. So based on a lot of what I see when we do network assessments and so forth, there's just the standard, keeping up on, admin rights. There's a lot of times we go into these network assessments and we're like, okay, so John here has admin access. Why does John have admin access? Well, John hasn't worked here in a year and a half. Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So I would say that just being able to do the everyday, day-to-day maintenance of updates and things that need to be done is even lacking. Forget even those next level software security measures that need to happen. So to answer your question, fairly low. But the companies that do have it together, they will tout it. They'll let people know. Look, we're making the moves to be cyber secure. In fact, when we were over at FabTech, Dean, I don't know if you've seen, but there was a company willing to tell the entire community that they were hacked and what they did about it. And that is a company that takes cybersecurity very serious, and that is a company that has made it part of their DNA. And unfortunately, it took a breach to do that. But I tell you what, I gave them a lot of props for that.
Yeah. I could tell you I think security and safety have very similar aspects of it. When you look at their framework, in general, safety is the same way. People don't think they have a problem until somebody gets hurt or you have an incident. Same thing is true in cybersecurity. People don't think they have a problem until there's an incident, and they don't even recognize it. Even if you can point it out to them, they're like, yeah, but what they know they shouldn't do that. They know that they shouldn't open that file. They know that that could be bad. How do you get your staff understanding the hazards and the risks that they create?
Yeah, so one that's easy, it's cost effective, something that we're offering actually through PMA. We are a partner with PMA. One of the things we're offering is access to cybersecurity awareness training. One, and I'll just say, really know before is kind of right now the Cadillac. That's the one that everyone really knows. Not only just ease of use, their training is really good. It's not cheesy. They have a lot of automation built in. They're kind of really where it's at as far as the cybersecurity awareness training. That alone is such a huge step forward to getting the conversation on the table. Sending your staff, we recommend one or two emails a week that are, especially in the beginning, that can send out phishing emails, and then if they don't hit it, there's training involved, and the training will develop as they develop. They'll get harder and harder as they go. It's kind of a cool conversation because now, as we get those monthly reports together and we start having those meetings, it's kind of fun to look at. Oh, look at, Sarah clicked on this 10 times, and just so you know, usually it's the CEO that ends up getting the most wrong. But I think that's an easy step right there of just getting something like that in place. And I know we offer that through PMA at 15% off, street pricing on Know Before, but that's a good one. And then, like I mentioned before, having that network assessment, understanding where you're at today, and making sure that every part of the department understands, what they need to do moving forward.
Is that also, do you feel that even small companies that with like 2 or 3 people need to have a plan?
Yeah, that's, we have a couple of defense customers that are literally 2 people. And so, and what's funny is it really doesn't change whether it's 2 or 2,000 people.
Right.
Yes, the plan becomes pretty standard. And going back to NIST, that's what NIST does. NIST is a framework that puts standards in place that allows everyone to see where we are today, what gaps we have, and where we need to go in order to be meeting all those standards. And so, when you apply a framework like NIST, whether it's a small company on up, that's it. It does not make a difference on size of company by any means.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think some people think that they're safe, not because they don't have anything to worry about, but because they think they're such a small company that who would ever waste their time hacking them?
Yeah, well, and I have that conversation all the time, right? And I just say, well, do you have $100 in your account? Is any of the information you have valuable to you? Because it's crazy as we look at it. There is that talk of, well, I'm too small. But when we start busting out the numbers, I mean, you take these hackers, and if all day long they could just somehow get $100 from 100 people all day, every day, they could do it, right? They just grab the low-hanging fruit. So not only going after these big companies, but the small companies are really where it's at, especially if you're new in the hacking industry.
Right.
They're starting out saying, here's a bunch of small companies, low-hanging fruit, grab as many as you can a day. And so it's worth it to them. If you have a common, 8-character password and you're not really doing anything to defend yourself, they're going to pick those off 100 a day.
And I think people don't realize that they're going to get targeted because larger companies may have tracking software to track their activities when they, put through a fake password or they're trying to guess your password, so to speak, with a program that, if you're in a small company, there's probably nothing there that's actually, you have to actually track where that came from or even that it's occurring. The only time you know that it's happened is when they guess the password and they get in, because you don't have limits set for how many times and origins or anything else.
Yeah, and that goes back to the regular maintenance, right? That just low-hanging maintenance things that the IT support should be doing, constantly making sure passwords are changed or so forth. Yeah, I think we put a stat out not too long ago that an 8-character password, it takes a hacker an average of less than 20 minutes and $20 or something to figure out what your password is. So that's what I mean. If they could just do that on a constant basis, sometimes just going after the low-hanging fruit. And the thing is, if you start putting some of these cyber defenses in place and increasing your cyber posture, it's really a huge advantage in today's environment because I keep saying low-hanging fruit, but there's so many doors in a neighborhood that are unlocked. If you just locked your door, they're going to come up and go, yeah, I'm just going to go to your neighbor. Their door's wide open.
Right.
So there's so many of those that they'll stay busy with all of that in most cases, unless they really want in. And then look, if they really want in, they're going to attempt, and they're going to eventually get in. And how quick can we put that fire out? Right.
How quick can you respond to it? How quick can you recover information or have a plan together to correct it? Do you see a lot of more of ransomware attacks? What do you think is the largest areas? Is it just information? Because that's information has a value on the dark web. All I need is your name, and maybe information so that I can have a driver's license or a health care card made up in your name. Everything doesn't have to have a direct monetary, somebody took money out of your account kind of thing.
No, look, as of today, and I never use scare tactics. I think that it doesn't need to happen, but we were having a conversation here internally, and look, we're at war. That's the best way that I can put it. With Russia and China, buddying up on some of these cyber attacks. We have watched, mainly even since the Ukraine war, we have watched ransomware and breaches skyrocket. Mm-hmm. And so we're watching it happen. We're seeing it happen. So yeah, it's a scary moment as of right now. And not only that, it like you said, it's not always money. There's ransomware as a service where I can go on the dark web and I can hire a company to go out and hack my competitor, hold their information hostage, let all their customers know that they've been hacked and steal all their information. Obviously, extremely unethical, but it exists because there's a demand for it. Mm-hmm. And so you cannot put a price on reputation.
Right.
And so when we talk about cybersecurity and this new budget line item, the most expensive aspect of cybersecurity is actually, getting breached and ransomed. Yeah. So, that those stats become very real.
And I think that's a very valid point, because I know even my own, in my world, I don't, it isn't about money so much as, but when I do see that, I get an email saying, well, there's been a hack at XYZ company and your information may have been exposed. Okay. Mm-hmm. First thing I'm doing is probably going to close my account and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I have no trust in you and your abilities. Now, I probably shouldn't, because the reality is, now that it's happened, they will tenfold jump through hoops to try and fix it. And I probably shouldn't go that way, but I've lost trust with that company.
Yeah, and you can't put a value on that. How long does it take, and how much money does it take to acquire that customer and build that trust with them, and how quickly can that be taken away?
Right.
And it's crazy, because I think I read not too long ago that the companies that are hacked, 93% of them are ransomed again because they still haven't learned.
Right.
And the enemy realizes that they'll pay.
Right.
And so therefore they'll just go right back at it again. Mm-hmm. I have horror stories, that are just, I've sat in rooms where the company was currently hacked, currently breached, and we put together a plan and they had to think about it.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, I don't understand what you have to think about. But it's gotten, it doesn't have to be this way. Look, there is now things you can do that are not going to cost an arm and a leg, but things you can do to start defending yourselves.
Right. And I know that you said that you have a agreement with the Precision Metal Forming Association for 15% off for any members in that.
Yep.
That's tremendous. Is there anything you can recommend to somebody who's just getting started, tips or tricks or things that they can do today to get moving? I mean, short of obviously calling you, that would be number one, but is there a number two thing that they should be doing? I would love to go back to the days where my computer wasn't plugged into the wall. That certainly goes a long way to securing it, but.
Yeah. I mean, the one-off stuff as of today, making sure, all your systems are up to date, making sure, antivirus is put on everything, possibly trying to look at the logs. No one wants to look at the logs on a firewall, but those types of things. But then the one-off stuff, getting a cybersecurity training in place. 83% of your breaches come from your employees with mistakes.
Right.
Also, one that we talked about a lot, but not everyone goes forward with it, is a password manager. If we just forgot about better securing your passwords, just get that off the table. A password manager is so convenient, especially for your C-level that has a lot of passwords. Just having to remember one and having it all in one area for you to be able to work, just ease of use alone would be a reason to look at a password manager,
right,
let alone, obviously, the security behind that.
Great. Well, we're just...
But yeah, Yeah, as I mentioned before, one way of saying is figuring out where you are today, getting a vulnerability scan, having a network assessment done, looking at how your IT support is operating today will give you, the CEO, even the IT manager at the top, a good glimpse of that fingerprint of what's happening today, and now putting plans in place to fill those gaps.
Right. Hey, Mike, we're just about out of time here. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can reach me by email at mike.brattain, Brattain, at systems-x.com. You can go on our website, systems-x.com, or you can reach me direct at 586-500-1001, and that'll go directly to me.
Great. Mike, thank you so much for your service and all you do for manufacturing as a whole and for all your hard work in cybersecurity.
No, thank you for getting the word out and providing great information to our manufacturing community. I thank you, Dean.
Thank you. Everybody go out there and make it a great day.